Hello and welcome to the Evolve Pipedrive podcast, where we talk all things Pipedrive, sales, apps, and the Pipedrive marketplace. My name is Bruce Bignell. I'm the sales director here at Evolve, and today it's my great pleasure to be talking with Jason Smith, the sales engineer at CallTrackingMetrics. And today, Jason's going to be walking us through the platform and how it integrates with Pipedrive. Jason, over to you.
Thanks, Bruce. So what CallTrackingMetrics does is kind of two different things. On one side, we've got the marketing attribution, and people come to us to understand what marketing efforts are driving phone calls. Are they getting all their calls from Google Ads or Google Organic versus Facebook? Or is their offline direct mails performing and generating phone calls? We provide this by giving you a piece of JavaScript, a snippet of tracking code that you put on your website, and then we swap out the number that normally appears based on where the visitor came from. So somebody comes to your website from your expensive Google Ads click, they're going to see one number. Somebody comes from a free referral listing on your neighbor's business, they're going to see a different number. And then you can weigh those channels based on where the calls are coming from. In addition to just swapping out the numbers, what that tracking code also does is it matches some important visitor data to those phone calls. So all of the first party data that visitor brought with them to the website, the Google Click ID, the Google Analytics customer ID, any other variables that you're looking for in these visitors, any other cookies, CTM can match those online parameters to the offline activity, the phone call, where normally that's a blind spot for your ad platforms in tying those visitors to these offline activities and properly attributing these offline activities. So
I
most
love it.
companies
Okay.
come to us for that service, and we just forward calls into their existing phone system. It can be very unintrusive to the existing phone architecture. But then on the other side of the house, we also offer a web-based communications platform. So we can be the tool that the agents use to make and receive phone calls. So from our plans page here, you can see the rates. We're very transparent with pricing, very accessible and kind of pay as you go. And then inside of the CallTrackingMetrics app, what happens is you buy the numbers directly from us, and we have great coverage in about 80 different countries around the globe. With these tracking numbers and your tracking code in place, then we can start that number swapping and session matching, and you're going to have all of the activities lined up in CallTrackingMetrics. We'll have all of the online visitor information that these callers have brought with them. And so this is a great tool. We have integrations with the ad platform so we can communicate events back to Google Analytics, conversions directly to Google Ads and Microsoft and Facebook. And also worth mentioning is our Pipedrive integration. So we have the ability to take all of these activities, whether we're just forwarding the calls and you're looking for the marketing data, or if you've got agents inside of CallTrackingMetrics fielding these activities, dispositioning the outcomes, we have the ability to link this to your Pipedrive instance. So all of these activities can be automatically synced to your Pipedrive CRM. So this is the setup after we've made a connection. Then we have a user mapping. You line up your Pipedrive user with your CallTrackingMetrics user so we can assign proper ownership. And then we have these workflow automations that drive what kind of information that we're going to send into your Pipedrive CRM and when we're going to send that information. So in this example, we look at here at the end of every phone call or activity, we're going to look at some criteria. In this case, there's no criteria. We're just, every call is going to be synced to a Pipedrive record. We're going to log a call, and you can map any of the data that CTM knows about that activity, including all of that interesting web data that we've captured and matched to that caller, and push that to your activity, add it as a note to your activity, and then establish some logic for how we match and interact with your existing records. Some companies want us to create a record for every activity that happens. Some companies only want us to update Pipedrive records when one already exists with these
Hmm.
activities that are happening in CTM, or we have the hybrid behavior or upsert behavior, where if we don't find something, then and only then will we create a new record and attach it.
Yeah, and that's the great way to certainly try to stave away any duplicates within the system. So very cool.
Yep. And then the other thing is just establishing this criteria. So in this initial example, there was no criteria, but you can imagine if you had different mappings, different data that was being pushed, if the type was an inbound call versus if the type was an inbound text. Obviously, with an inbound call, you're not going to have a message body, but with an inbound text message, it's going to be important for us to push the message body with that trigger as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love that. So in terms of the other types, so there could be um, uh, so a web form or a web visitor or a CPC click. Is that what you can do here as well? Understand?
Well, so those would be kind of tracked and measured in analytics. We're not going to really have the CPC click until we can associate that click to a call, a
Yes.
chat, or a form, something that happens on the website.
Yeah.
So those types of activities, then we'll have a CPC click related.
Because we've customized the phone number and or text number that they're seeing, which then allows them, which then gives the sales guys more data as to where they've come from as a source, um, like a source originating source.
Yep. So for example, you might say if the visitor came to uh, uh, their last URL that we saw them on before they picked up the phone and called. And when they called, we matched that session. The last place that we saw them on the website contained, UTM source equals CPC or something like that. We could have a different mapping than if the last place we saw them was, the landing URL contained refunds policy page or cancellations or, something else.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, and obviously this is all great data to then push into your pipe drive, right? So then it allows the sales guys to act quicker with more relevant information. Um,
Yep, and really try to unify the sales and marketing teams, and
yeah,
understanding where the sales leads are coming from in both directions.
just looking at this is quite interesting. So this is using the pipe drives activity. So then perform the following criteria, right? So these activities that are logged within the pipe drive section. So where do you do the mapping? Because these activities you've created in CTM, or you've created them in Pipedrive and then matched them together. Where's that created?
So think of it as a one-way push of data. So the calls and activities are all happening in call tracking metrics. So an activity is a call or a text message or a form that came in, and we're
Yeah,
saying based on that activity type or the outcome of that activity, then we want to do a dip into Pipedrive, and we want to look for a deal specifically, and then we're going to log a call to that deal. And in that call that we log is where you could put all of the metadata about the marketing channel that led to this call. This is the subject of that, and then this would be the note actually logged to that activity call. And so in this
yeah,
example, we're putting a list of tags that were added to the phone call. So in our activity log, you see there's tags that can be added either manually or automatically. So those would be in the note of this call. Any notes that the call tracking metrics agent might add. So as an agent's answering calls in here, they have the ability to add notes. So if I added a note to this activity, that's going to automatically be pushed over into the note that's logged here.
yeah,
And then lastly, the call recording, we're pushing the audio. So in call tracking metrics, all of these calls get recorded when we have a recording URL, then we'll put that URL directly in that note inside of the Pipedrive deal. So a
Nice.
manager can go right down the timeline in Pipedrive and say, oh, I see my sales rep had 4 calls with this deal to close it, and go back and listen to what those calls were, coach, and try to reproduce
Yeah,
those results.
yeah. It's the best way to talk through anything if you can actually hear what happened on the call.
Yep.
You can give some much better feedback. Okay, sweet. Is there anything else that you want to show us at this time, Jason, with integration?
Nope, that's all for now.
Well, yeah, well, that's brilliant. From my side, that was my first time seeing the platform, so it's really cool to see how it can integrate certainly the marketing efforts and team, that what they're doing, and make it all the way over to the sharp edge of the sales guys, who are then being able to be much more active in how they're working. So we'll be sure to have trial links in the description below to kind of give this a trial yourself. And Jason, thank you very much for walking me through that.
Thanks, Bruce. My pleasure.
Brilliant.